to do is I want to show you how to set up a line chart like the one in the donut example, where the numbers on the y-axis are so close together. You want to make sure that you have plenty of room in that direction. Right, so I'm going to go to my line chart tool and we're going to pick a line chart. What I want to do is I want to give it some height, but not make it too wide. Something like that. And that's going to give me some good vertical distance. Now I have to navigate to my data. All right, here's my donut sales right here. I'm going to select my data from there to here. Command C, bring it over to my chart, and Command V to paste it in there. Before I finish up, there are a couple of cleaning up things I need to do. All the zeros here for pumpkin spice and for carrot cake need to be taken out, because remember, these are months that there were no sales because the donuts weren't available during those months. Alright, so now that I've taken those out, I'm going to click the check mark and take a look at my graph. Okay, so there's a couple of things here that don't feel right. Let's try reversing the axes and see how that looks. So that looks better. One of the things I want you to notice here is that the scale was changed by the program, and it's going from 2,000 to 8,000. We don't need anything above 7,000. We may not even need more than 6,500. So we're probably going to want to play with that. We also want to move these lines up quite a bit, and we want to start the scale at 0. So that'll change the scale a little. We'll have to move some things a bit. We'll get that to work. What I want to show you is with the tall y-axis and the short x-axis, I do have some space between these lines. Now to make them stand out, there are a couple of things that I want to do. I'm not going to do a full chart here. This is just an explanation to get started. All right, so I'm going to turn this off. I find it easiest to ungroup. You could also use the group selection tool to do things, but I'm going to ungroup. You got to select the chart first, object, and ungroup. And it's going to tell me again that you can't change the data anymore. So it's no longer something we can work with. Now, if I click off, you'll see that these lines are still going to be connected. See, all the lines are being selected and the dots. So I'm going to ungroup again, Command-Shift-G, select a line. That line appears now to be selected separately. Okay, so now the original glaze down here is selected and this line here is selected. So what I can do now is I can come adjust the color. Okay, so the stroke color is there. I can go to swatches. I'm going to start out with red for the original glaze. You can see that the red line here and the red line here are all red. Also notice my stroke weight is 2 points. If I make the strokes smaller, going down to 1 point, I could even go down to 1/4 of a point if I needed to. That's also giving me more separation between those two lines. So you can see now we have a lot better going on than we did before. We did not include the months on the axis. We'll have to put those in manually. Again, I don't need to go up to 8,000, so this is all still grouped. I'm going to change that by ungrouping. Probably the easiest thing to do is, while I have them all selected, is to move them up. We actually want to start at 0, not 1,000, so probably moving them up one more is better. And the ones on the top I can take off and repurpose. Okay, now if I click off there, I'm going to use these, so this can be 1,000 now, and this could be my 0. So that's going to really help my chart as well to look more realistic and starting at 0. So now I need to bring these lines up. Let's just take a look at the data. I want to see which one of these lines is actually closest to the whole number. I've got 5,003 for the chocolate glaze, which is really right past the 5,000 just by a tiny bit, so I can use that to estimate. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to select all of these lines. Notice we didn't change the scale. Okay, so now I've just got those selected. I want the brown line, and that's right about 5,000. I'm not too worried that this is off the page, because I can always go to my artboard tool, Shift-O, and I can raise the page up a little bit. Alright, so now I just have to add my axis labels for the different months, and I need to format these so that they're all showing in a better place. Now you can see all my lines clearly and separately. We're starting at 0, which is best practices. We could extend the axis up to 7,000, and that would help people estimate the size of this, right? Especially if we put in like a 6,500. But that's essentially basically what you need to do. Alright, so here's what I ended up doing. As you can see, my lines are all very visible right now. They're where there should be. My scale on the y-axis is going from 0 to 6,500, and I have my month labels on the bottom. I rearranged the key in size order by the average of the monthly sales for the months that everything was available, because I think that is really helpful for finding things on the graph as well. With that tall y-axis like that, you can see I have lots of room to see. Taking away the dots helped clarify and give some visual space. So that's my solution to getting some separation between the lines and making sure they stand out. All right, if you have any questions, reach out to me.